Candyman 2021. I've been looking forward to this movie because I love the original Candyman movie with Tony Todd and Virginia Madsen. The music in there is creepy. The visuals are creepy. Still to this day, that movie haunts me, even if I do know that, like, the scene that is the most scary to me in the original Candyman movie is this story that the little boy tells to Virginia Madsen's character who's investigating the Candyman. He tells the story about a young black kid who ran across the street because he couldn't hold his urine. He had to go to the bathroom, and then he ended up being killed. And then they show these flashes during the boy's story being told. And then we hear the boy screaming, and then it's just like the visual presentation on that is top notch, scary. I saw that when I was a kid, and it terrified me hearing the boy screaming, seeing the visual presentation of the boy holding himself on the ground, and then the story being told. That whole thing crafted together was excellent and still scary to me to this day, even though I know now by looking at the scene that it's a dummy on the ground. That's not a, it doesn't look like a real body. It looks fake, but it's still an effective scene. But yeah, that movie, the first one, is one of the best horror movies ever made, in my opinion. And so I was really excited for Candyman 2021 because I love the first movie so much. And Tony Todd, excellent as Candyman. No one can replace Candyman, Tony Todd, just like no one can replace Freddy Krueger, you know. I forgot his name. I'm sorry. What's that guy's name? The guy who plays Freddy Krueger. Oh my God. It's at the tip of my tongue. Oh my God. I know his name. The guy who plays Freddy Krueger. I'm sorry. His name escapes me right now. But like, I saw the remake of Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, first one. And whoever the new guy was, I didn't think. Robert Englund, that's his guy. That's the guy. No one can replace Tony Todd as Candyman just as much as no one can replace Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger, you know? And so I was like, well, how are they going to do this? And I think the Candyman movie 2021 executed it perfectly. Because if you've seen the first Candyman movie, at the end of that one, Helen becomes the new Candyman. So in this one, they carry on that tradition. The Candyman mantle isn't passed on, it's the whole damn hive. And I thought that was very unique. But then it saddened me because I'm like, well, what about Helen, bro? She's a Candyman too, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, whatever. But, it starts off, and it's the same thing as Halloween 2018, where it has a tremendous fan base. It has a whole slate of movies. Some of them are garbage, some of them are good, but the original is always the best, like Candyman and Halloween, John Carpenter. And this new movie is, you could call it a rebootquel, or it's a sequel to the first movie while they're throwing away everything else. So like Candyman 2, Farewell to the Flesh doesn't exist. In that movie, I thought, it's all right. And then Candyman 3, Day of the Dead, never seen it, don't want to. But yeah, Candyman 2 and 3 don't exist here, but the first one is canon. And they utilize the first movie in a unique way. But at the beginning, it was a little sketchy because they throw this mystery out, like there's this other Candyman, and he's just this friendly guy, and then they set it up at the beginning like, oh, he killed this kid, and it's like, okay, what's going on? Then the opening mimics the original opening credit sequence to the first movie, and I was like, I don't know, man. At first I was like, yeah, you don't mimic the first opening credits to the first Candyman, because that orchestra score and the visuals are fantastic. And then in this new version, it's similar, and the music at first sounded generic. I'm like, nah, you can't compare it to the original opening credits and the original Candyman. You can't do it. But then there's like this eerie chant, like in the background. So the score, like, it builds, and the score is interesting here, but it still doesn't hold a candle to the opening of the original Candyman, in my opinion. But the thing that I love, my arm's getting tired. The thing that I love about this new Candyman is that, it doesn't really piggyback off the first movie. Like, for example, first Blair Witch remake by Adam Wingard doesn't hold a candle to the original Blair Witch Project movie. The first Blair Witch was innovative and new and different at the time. And then you have the new version of Blair Witch, and it's more modern, and, it's just not the same because the film technology isn't the same, And the way the those two movies were filmed are completely different, even though the remake tries to come off as authentic like the original Blair Witch. And there was one thing in the original, not in the new Blair Witch by Adam Wingard that I like, where they they reference the original movie, so it's canon. And then the whatever the girl is talks about Heather and all that stuff, and I literally tears were in my eyes because I'm like they're mentioning the first movie, but then Blair Witch just eventually becomes a remake and it's copy, Batum, shot for shot, just modern day, and it's I don't like that movie. And so with this, I thought it was going to do something like that, where it's like it mentions the first movie and it's canon, but it's just like trying to piggyback off of the nostalgia factor, like fans like myself, like, oh my God, Candyman. But no, I think it utilized the story very well and it expanded it. And it's a straight sequel. It's a direct sequel, and it makes a lot of sense. And I think it does help if you've seen the original Candyman, because then it just elevates that nostalgia and that factor that the story that's being told in this new movie when they explain what's happening. And then on top of that, expanding the story, we see how all these other Candymans come about. Now, the thing that was really getting to me, I was like, man, Tony Todd, though, no one can compare. But then this new Candyman, who they introduced at the beginning, where it's like I said, there's this opening scene where it's this mystery, like, did he kill the kid? But no, it's like the story goes, the innocent black man got killed, by a white person, mostly the police, and that's the Candyman legacy, is that like with Daniel Robitaille, the Tony Todd Candyman in the first movie, fell in love with a white woman during slavery period, wasn't supposed to do that. He ended up getting killed horrifically, and all that. And so that's the legacy of the Candyman. And so it implements that here with a variety of different Candymans, and it works. And it just connecting everything to the first movie, it makes a lot of sense. I think it does. And it works. Like, you can watch these back to back and forget the sequels. So, just like, Halloween 2018, it connects the first movie, and even though it has the same title, it connects the first movie and expands the story. But I feel like this is better than Halloween 2018 in a way of expanding the story. But I don't know. But with this, it's like, it you can say it's a modern remake that expands the original mythology of the Candyman, which was already established by the end of the first movie. There can be multiple Candymans, and they illustrate that here. Like, I feel like not the first kill, but there's a kill in the art gallery where I'm like, that's Tony Todd. You don't get to really see his face, but just like his shape and just like the feel of it, and like, that's Tony Todd. So there are some kills in here, like the art scene with the girl and the promoter, whoever the guy was. That was a good kill. The bathroom scene was good. So there's a lot of gore in here, but I think it's done artistically, where it's gruesome, it's bloody, it's gory, there's buckets of blood, but there's some things where it's like, left to the imagination, like a pool of blood falling behind a bathroom stall. And it's like, that's a lot of blood. So it's a little comedic, but they make it to where it's like, okay, yeah, you hear the slashing and the killing, but you don't really see all of it. You get a little glimpse, which is good. They give you nuggets. And there are lots of good scares in here. Like, the other Candyman, who at the beginning was like, the connections in here are great too. I forgot this actor's name. But he was just in a movie called Zola that I saw. Dominique DeMungo, I think his name is. He played a good character. First he seems like that old guy who's like, oh, I'm just in the neighborhood hanging out, to old stories. And then it's a connection to the opening scene. So I like it when movies do that. They come full circle. Like, they show you something, they don't explain it fully. You're like, what is that? Left to the mystery. And then it goes and deeper into the story later on when we see the character again. So his connection at the beginning is tied in. It was a false alarm. He was just terrified because he was a kid. And then, Candyman guy scared him. And police just assumed that, oh, yeah, you're hurting the kid. And they killed him because they thought he was the guy that was, slinging razor blade candy and stuff. So those connections were good, how he came in there. And then this does tie into the original, where the the main character guy, he's connected to the first movie, so I thought that was great. All the connections are great. It expands the mythology in a way that makes sense. I wanted more Tony Todd, but at the end, I thought the ending was trash. Because the girlfriend summoned Candyman, and then, it's like, okay, he doesn't kill her though. He sets her free, and I'm like, oh man. But then they show Tony Todd at the end, which I was like, okay, that's great. But still, the ending though kind of bothered me. But then seeing Tony Todd finally, I was like, show his face, and they showed him, but it's CGI, make him look younger, and I was like, man, CGI bothers me, but it's Tony Todd though, so that was great. And there was another scare in here where the Candyman at the beginning who got shot by the police in the opening scene, there's a scene where the main character looks in the mirror and he like puts his hands up. It's in the trailer. And I thought that was really eerie. That was very eerie. It went on kind of long. Like at first I was like, okay, that's really cool. And then there's like, a little comedic if you show it too much, And there's like this one scene that I thought was a throwaway scene where it's like they're a random scene of just some black girls in the bathroom summoning Candyman, and they won't let their brother in or something, and they get killed, and then we see the guy like with the hook in the mirror, and I was just like, I could have done without that, but it's like, hey, we got to keep having the excitement going, which makes sense because this movie is very slow. It's like 2 hours. It's very slow. It's more of a psychological horror where there's like gruesome kills, but there's like a certain pace where it's like story, story, story. No, at the beginning it's like scare, then story, 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 scare, story, story, story. There's more story being built than scares here, but then the scares are effective. The story's interesting. I enjoyed this movie. Is it as good as the original? I have to say no, but this is a good movie. I thought it was good. It was good. I had a good time. I was a little bored because it's slow story building, but it makes sense. I was connected to the characters here. There's some goofy moments, some moments I could have done without. The score isn't as memorable as the original, but hey, saw Tony Todd at the end was great, even though it was a CGI face. But yeah, I thought it was good. Could have been worse. I thought this movie was gonna suck, but hey, I thought it was good. That's all I have to say.